Hey everyone, and welcome to today's craft activity. Today I'll be teaching you how to tie-dye a t-shirt. So earlier this week you got your camp shirts, which you got to decorate with the fabric markers that you were provided. So today we'll be looking at some other craft supplies that you would have received, which is your tie-dye kit. So in your tie-dye kit you should have received 2 colors of dye, a plastic sheet, rubber gloves, and some elastic bands. So I'm going to show you some techniques that you can use to fold your shirt, and then you can choose which one you want to do and dye it afterwards. So the first thing we want to do is make sure that our t-shirt is damp. It'll make the tie-dyeing process that much easier. So our first technique, what we're going to do is a very easy one, and this is called the Crumple Technique. So there's no rhyme or rhythm to how you do it. You basically just take your material and bunch it up. You can make it loose, you can make it tight. It's all up to you how you want to do it. Once you have it in the shape that you want, you just take your elastics and you wrap it around. Okay, once you have it as crumpled as you want, you're going to then add the tie-dye, and you should end up with something similar to this. Next technique that I'm going to show you is called the spiral technique. So you're going to find the center of your shirt, you're going to pinch the material, and you're going to start to twist it. You're just going to keep twisting till the entire shirt becomes one giant twist. So you may need to use your hands to move the material around so that you get that round shape. So once it's all twisted, you're going to take your elastics and you're going to wrap it around the shirt. Usually for this shape, 3 elastics is enough. And your shirt should end up looking something like this. So again, after you add the dye to it, it should end up looking something like this. So our next technique is called the Bullseye Technique. It's a pretty simple technique. Again, you're going to find kind of the center or whatever spot you kind of want to be the middle part of your bullseye of your shirt. You're going to pull the material straight up like so. So you should end up holding it like that. You're going to take an elastic and wrap it around. Then we're going to go further along the shirt so that it's making another kind of group. We're going to take another elastic, and you can do it either close or far. It's whatever you want the shape, how far you want the colors to be. And you're going to wrap that around. You're going to do this one more time. So if you do want to add another elastic or 2, that's fine as well. And we're going to do the same idea, like so. So this is what your shirt should look like after you've done all the elastics. And once you've added the dye, it should look something like this. Our next pattern is going to be similar to the bullseye. This one's called the Starburst. And what we're going to do for this shirt is we're going to take little pieces of material and we're going to pull them up into bunches. So just something like that. Just a small little bit of the material, or big, depends on how big you want the sunburst to end up being. You're going to take your elastic and tie it so that part is sticking up. So it should look something like that. You're going to do that again in different spots on the shirt. Wherever you want them to be is fine. So like so. You'll have little kind of spots like this, and when you tie to the shirt, you're going to leave it laying flat like this. You'll do one color on all the points of the material that you tied up here, and then you would use the other color for the flat part of the shirt. And when the tie-dye is done, it should look something similar to this. So our next pattern is called an accordion pattern or a stripe pattern. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to fold our sleeve, and we're going to fold it again. We're going to hold on to that sleeve so that it keeps its shape, and we're going to fold the shirt like so, so we get a strip, and we're just going to keep going back and forth like an accordion. so, once we get to the other side of the shirt. So if you need to, feel free to straighten it up a little bit. Fold your sleeve and fold it again. So now you have a strip like so. You're going to then take your elastic band and just tie it together. If you have more elastic bands, you can make more stripes. You can also make smaller folds to get more of an accordion shape. So it's up to you how many times you want to fold your shirt. You may have to adjust the sleeves as you fold because they may come unfolded. That's okay. If it becomes unfolded, just find which side has come undone and fold it back. Okay, so you should end up with a shirt like this. And if you want, you can alternate your colors. You could do 2 colors and another color. It's up to you. And after you've added the dye, it should look something like this. So for the accordion pattern, you can also make the stripes tighter. And your shirt should end up, after adding the dye, look something similar to this. So for our next pattern, we're going to be doing the accordion fold again. However, we're going to be doing it going up this way instead. So to make it easier to fold, we're actually going to take our shirt and we're going to fold it in half, like so. Okay, and we're going to start from the bottom, so it's easier if you turn your shirt sideways like this to fold. You're going to start from the bottom, and you're going to fold back and forth. And if you need to, you can even go back and forth like this, standing the fold up like so, and just going back and folding it up. So you'll end up having folds along like this, and your folded accordion shirt should look like so when it's done. And if you want, you can also do for the sleeves. And there you go. Once you've added the dye to the shirt, it should look something similar to this. And another name for this is called the vertical accordion. For our next pattern, we're going to do a kind of a twist on the vertical accordion pattern that we just did. But this time we're not going to fold the shirt in half when we do the horizontal folding up and down. We're going to just go back and forth along the shirt. Like so. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn it on its side. So the folds are facing up, and you're going to fold it in half, like so. We're then going to kind of do a zigzag back and forth. We're going to take each side and fold it back. We're going to do it with the same other side as well. So we basically have done an accordion going both ways on the shirt. The next thing we're going to do is take our elastic bands and wrap it around our bundle. So like so, that you have a nice tight bundle there. And then when you add the dye, your shirt should look something similar to this. And the last technique I'll be showing you is one that's called Shibori. Shibori is a Japanese style tie-dye technique and usually is done with an indigo blue, but we can certainly have fun with it with the colors that we have. Okay, so again, similar to the other accordion fold that we did before, we're going to start the same way, going back and forth. And you can make them as big or as small as you'd like. I'm going to go skinnier for this one. Then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to fold it back and forth until it basically becomes one square. So you're going to go like this, fold it back. So it kind of goes zigzag. So it's similar to the technique that I just showed you, except without folding the shirt in half. And you're going to try and make it as tight as you can. Like so. And you're going to do the same thing where you take your elastic, you're going to wrap it around your shirt, along this side. So basically it will look like it's a wrapped up present. Your fold should go one way and then we'll go the other. Like so. And then when you're done folding it, it will look something similar to this. This picture, however, is done with the fold on an angle. So you can try doing it on an angle. It does not have to be straight lines going up and down. So I'll give you a demonstration of doing it on an angle instead. You can certainly do it diagonally and do the accordion pattern as well this way, but I will show the Shibori technique as well on a diagonal. So you would start with the corner of the shirt, and you do the same thing, making a stripe. Going back and forth. The same idea would be to fold it in and out. And once you've folded it, you're going to take your elastics and wrap it around your folding. So again, your shirt should end up looking something similar to this. And I hope you have fun with making that. And now we'll move on to the next step. So now that we've finished our folding technique to get the design that we want for our shirt, the next thing is going to be to dye the shirt. So I'm doing my tie-dyeing outside where I can make a bit of a mess. You were given a cover for your surface to work with. If you have extra plastic that you can use to cover your working surface, I would suggest putting an extra layer on just to be safe so that your work surface doesn't get too dirty. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put on our gloves. Once we have our gloves on, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to mix water in our dye. Alright, so the first thing you want to do is you want to take the lid off of the dye. You'll notice there's a little tip there. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to push down on it and you're going to wiggle it loose. You'll see that it starts to pop open a little bit there. Once you have an edge, it'll be easier to take off the tip. So we're going to put the tip aside for now. We're going to take water and we're going to fill it up. Okay. So there you go. Easy enough. Put the lid back, the tip back on. Put the lid back on and give it a good shake. So we're shaking it up so that we can get all of that powdered dye that sticks to the bottom mixed in. And you may have to squeeze it a little bit just to help nudge some of the dye as you're shaking around, but keep shaking and don't stop shaking until you get all of the powder mixed, until you can't see any more sticking to the bottom of your bottle. And do the same thing with your other color. And now you're ready to do the fun part, which is to tie-dye your shirt. Alright, so now here comes the fun part. We're going to add the dye. And you can put as much or as little as you want in whatever kind of pattern you feel like doing. Make sure that you get it all over though so that it soaks right in to the material. You can leave some spaces where it's white, that's fine. So as you can see, there's a reason why we use the plastic to cover the table, so that we don't accidentally tie-dye our table. Make sure you flip it over. You want to try and get all the sides of your shirt so that you can get a nice pattern. And it's okay if the colors overlap. Once you're done putting all the dye on, I would suggest putting it into a resealable bag or into a plastic bag just to help keep the moisture so that the dye has lots of time to process. And then make sure to clean up your workspace when you're done. Okay, now that we're done dyeing the shirt, we're going to play the waiting game, which means that you're going to leave the shirt in the bag for at least 6 to 8 hours. If you want to get a really bold, bright color, then I would suggest leaving it overnight, and then I will show you what to do once you've let the dye sit in the shirt for a while. Alright, so now that the shirt has had time to sit and soak in the dye, the next step is going to be to rinse the shirt. So I would recommend that you use a pair of gloves, so make sure to hold on to the gloves that you had from putting the dye on the shirt in the first place, and we'll take it out of the bag. So now that it's out of the bag, you're going to take the rubber bands off. Make sure to unfold it, and then you're going to rinse it. Make sure that you rinse it well. And don't worry about the marker that you used earlier on in the week, because it's a fabric marker, it should stay on your shirt. And then on to the next step. Now that we've rinsed the shirt, we're going to toss it in the wash. And then you're going to use some gentle laundry soap. For the setting on your washing machine, I would recommend washing it on hot for the first time. And the reason for that is so that the dye will set in better. After that, I would recommend washing the shirts in cold. And now we wait. After the wash cycle is done, you're going to take it out of the washing machine and we're going to put it in the dryer. We're then going to dry the shirt on high heat to help set the color. And then we wait for it to finish. Now that the shirt is done, it's time to put it on. All right, so now your shirt should be done. I hope you have fun with making this tie-dye t-shirt.
Please let me know what pattern you end up going with for your shirt. And if you have extra dye, feel free to use it for other projects, of course asking for permission before you start tie-dyeing. And remember to use lots of dye so that it really soaks into your shirt. And the longer that you wait for the dye to sit, the stronger the color will be. Again, have fun with doing your tie-dye, and I'll see you soon. Bye.